People everywhere are making choices more connected with their values. We are simplifying our lives, buying less, and living more because we know that the earth supplies enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. We conserve water, save energy, and plug into the power of Mother Nature because we realize that when we make connected choices, we not only build better lives for ourselves, we build a better world for everyone. Still, there is one connected choice that often gets overlooked. It's one of the most far-reaching personal, practical, and ethical choices you can make. We are all connected. The choices we make affect not only our lives, but the lives of other people. If we use more than our share, we are taking from other people and from those yet to come. In this day and age, in a world of plenty, it is difficult to understand how, all over the world, nearly 1 billion people are going hungry, and 40,000 will starve to death every single day. This doesn't happen because there isn't enough for everyone. This happens because, while people are starving, we are wasting enormous amounts of grain to feed cows, pigs, chickens, and other animals so that we may satisfy our desire for meat, milk, and eggs. The earth can provide only so much food. While the human population is growing and growing, the tiny amount of land on which we can grow food is not. Because raising animals for food takes so much land, water, and other resources, the earth would be able to sustain only about 2 billion people on a meat and dairy-based diet. With a world population of nearly 7 billion people, it's easy to see that we need to find a better way. Vegan choices support a world where all may be fed. Vegan choices require only a fraction of the land and far fewer resources than what is needed to produce animal products. The equation is simple. The fewer animal products we consume, the more people we can feed. If we ignored this simple fact, more and more people will be going hungry as the world population continues to grow. Vegan choices also promote your own health and the health of others. The #1 killers in the United States, heart disease and cancer, are conclusively linked to consuming animal products. Vegan choices work to make these diseases a rarity and refuse to contribute to their escalating spread around the world as animal-based diets are pushed on other countries and upon the poor. Millions of people, instead of supporting the export of disease and hunger, are taking personal responsibility. They are being the change they want to see in the world. Their vegan choices are prolonging and bettering their own lives, easing the burden on the planet, and making a life-sustaining commitment to future generations. Vegan choices conserve land, water, and energy. The United Nations found that raising animals for human consumption contributes to global warming more than all the planes, cars, and trucks on the planet combined. 40% more. To feed and water farmed animals takes enormous amounts of water. To produce just 1 pound of meat requires on average 2,500 gallons of water. A gallon of cow's milk, 750 gallons of water. By simply making vegan choices, you can save over 1.3 million gallons of water every year. Many of us recycle paper because we want to save trees. But the #1 reason for cutting down trees, including the destruction of the rainforest, is to clear land to grow food for farmed animals. In just 1 year, a vegan saves a full acre of trees, equal to millions of pieces of paper. The billions of animals we raise for food not only use most of our water and eat most of our food, they poop most of it out. In the U.S., farmed animals produce 130 times more excrement than the entire human population, 86,000 pounds per second. Per second! That's enough to rebuild the Denver skyline every 24 hours out of poop. This concentrated slop pollutes our water, destroys our topsoil, and contaminates our air. Our oceans are dying. Industrial fishing has caused a global decline in fish populations to near extinction in most parts of the ocean. Massive nets, miles long, scrape the ocean depths and indiscriminately scoop up and suffocate everyone in their catch. Turtles, seals, dolphins, whales, and billions of struggling fish. And industrial fish and shrimp farms are creating environmental dead zones. Massive amounts of concentrated waste from these factory farms smother the ocean floor and choke the life from it. But it's not too late.
Animals feel pain just as people do. If you eat animals, you should know what happens to chickens, pigs, cows, sheep, fish, and other animals used for food. Please take a few moments to find out about the routine cruelty involved in raising, transporting, and killing these animals. Chickens are the most abused animals on the planet. Those raised for their flesh are packed into filthy sheds, often with thousands of other birds. Fumes from their accumulated waste burn their throats and eyes. Most birds lose their feathers and develop blistering, ulcered feet, and other ailments. They are pushed to grow such unnaturally large upper bodies so fast that their legs often become crippled under their own weight. PETA India has uncovered shocking cruelty to chickens, including their live scalding, starvation, and mutilation of birds. Chickens are intelligent animals who form strong family ties and mourn whenever they lose a loved one. According to scientists, a mother hen will turn her eggs as many as 5 times in an hour and cluck to her chicks while they're still in the shell, and her chicks chirp back. But on egg farms, hens spend their entire lives crammed into wire cages so small that they can't even spread a single wing. Because they can't use them, their muscles waste away and their bones deteriorate. Standing on the wire, their feet become lacerated. The ends of their sensitive beaks are cut off with a hot blade, causing them chronic pain. Some birds starve to death because eating is too painful. They never even see their own babies. At the end of their miserable lives, chickens are grabbed by their frail legs and wings, often causing broken bones, and stuffed inside cages to be transported to the slaughterhouse, where they are slammed upside down into metal shackles and shocked in an electrical water bath. Many escape the electric shock only to have their throats slit and be scalded to death while still conscious in the de-feathering tanks. Many chickens are transported to shops where they are tied up together upside down by their legs and then crammed into cages. The terrified birds have their throats slit with burnt knives and are often put into drums full of scalding water while they are still alive.
The images that you are about to see are not isolated cases. They represent industry standards for animals raised for milk. Animals raised for milk are forced to endure enormous pain and suffering. They have been turned into milk-producing machines. In the year 2007, India produced almost 100 million tons of milk, which is 15% more than the US and 3 times more than China. Like all mammals, animals raised for milk need to become pregnant in order to produce milk. Typically, animals raised for milk are made to give birth to a calf every year, which means they are both lactating and pregnant for at least 7 months a year. Within 3 months of giving birth, a cow is made pregnant again, at times through artificial methods. Artificial insemination is a process by which sperm is collected from the male, processed, stored, and artificially introduced into the female reproductive tract for the purpose of conception. Animals are artificially inseminated by barefoot healers who ignore even minimum standards of care. PETA investigators observed that the artificial insemination guns were rarely sterilized, that syringes and needles were used repeatedly on different animals without being sterilized, and that the barefoot healers shoved their bare, soapy hands into the animals' uteruses, causing the cows immense pain and exposing them to potential infections and diseases. Cows and buffaloes raised for milk in India today are milked over and over using machines which are able to extract more milk than the animals would yield easily. Because workers aren't always paying attention, the machines often continue to run even after the animals' udders are empty, causing them a lot of pain. Buffaloes stand several feet deep in foul-smelling slush. They suffer from skin infections, foot disease, tuberculosis, and other illnesses. Bull calves, who are of no commercial value to the dairy industry, are tied up with ropes so short that they cannot even lift their heads. Very often these calves are sold to slaughterhouses and killed for their skin.
Calves are taken from their mothers shortly after birth. Their mothers often bellow frantically and search for them even after they have been sold for their flesh or skin.
Oxytocin is a Schedule H drug, which means it cannot be bought or sold without a prescription. However, its use in the dairy industry, although illegal, is rampant, as the drug causes cows to produce more milk. Oxytocin causes cows to experience severe stomach cramps similar to labor pains and weakens their bones. Under natural conditions, a cow can live up to 18 years, but cows raised for milk are only about 6 or 7 years old when they are sent to the slaughterhouse to be killed for their meat and skin. The animals are shoed and then roped together in preparation for the harrowing death march, which can last several days. Handlers pull the cattle by ropes through their noses and twist their necks, horns and tails to keep them moving. They lead, or rather force the cattle down embankments and in and out of trucks without ramps, causing the animals injuries such as broken pelvises, legs, ribs and horns. Another way handlers keep the animals moving is by rubbing chili peppers and tobacco into their eyes. As many as half of the animals will already be dead by the time they arrive at the slaughterhouse. The survivors are often killed in full view of each other, and instead of the required quick slice across the throat with a sharp knife, they are generally killed through hacking and sawing with a dull blade. It all comes down to pain and suffering, not intelligence, not strength, not social class or civil right. Pain and suffering are in themselves bad and should be prevented. Say no to that slice of cheese or glass of milk. There are so many nutritious, delicious and cruelty-free recipes available now.
How can it be that 95% of Americans feel it is wrong to unnecessarily hurt and kill helpless animals, yet 95% of Americans continue to unnecessarily hurt and kill helpless animals so they can eat them? Why the disconnection? It's time to connect. When you make vegan choices, you stand up for the meekest among us, those who rely entirely on your ability to show compassion. You stand up for farmed animals and refuse to pay anyone to harm them on your behalf. You stand up for the millions of wild animals who are displaced and brutally killed to make room for farmed animals and profits. And you help rebuild the wildlands they call home. Most of us have had the opportunity to get to know an animal. When you get to know them, you quickly find out that they each have their own personalities, their own quirks, their own ways. You can tell when they're happy, or sad, or scared, and sometimes we forget that this is true for all animals. And most of us have felt the unconditional love of an animal, that deep bond that seems to go beyond our human connections. We talk to our dogs and to our cats, and sometimes we connect with them more deeply than with anyone else. They love us, and we love them. You can feel that connection again and again by giving your love to every animal, those we call our pets, wild animals, and those who suffer on farms and in factory farms. Make vegan choices to align with your true love for animals. Expand your circle of compassion, and the love will come back to you 1,000 times. Vegan. Every day you are invited to make choices. Live your values. Change the world.
President. How are you?
Right.
Since leaving office, Bill Clinton has made his own health and the health of the country his top domestic priority. I saw it firsthand when he invited me to Little Rock.
Last time we spoke a few weeks ago, you said you were going to be really strict on the diet. You were doing a pretty good job, you say.
Yeah, I'm being more strict now.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the time I have my 65th birthday, I want to weigh what I did when I went home from law school in 1973.
Wow,
that's what I'm working
That's a grand ambition.
President Clinton's diet, no meat, no dairy, almost no oil, got me thinking how different what he's eating now as compared to what he used to eat, and what most of us still eat. Make a habit of high-fat, high-cholesterol meals like this, and you can physically see the beginnings of heart disease. For starters, your blood actually looks different.
So let's start by looking at what healthy blood looks like after it has been centrifuged or spun. You can see there are two components. This bottom layer represents the blood cells, and this top layer represents the plasma. The plasma is a clear yellow layer that contains mostly water and electrolytes.
Here's what happens to your blood if you follow an unhealthy diet. The top layer is white and cloudy. It's just laden with heart-clogging fat and cholesterol.
You have some easy-to-remember adages about how people can decide what they should or should not eat.
We know what they shouldn't eat. That is oil, dairy, meat, fish, and chicken. What do we want them to eat? We want them to eat all those whole grains for their cereal, bread, and pasta, beans, vegetables, yellow, red, green, and fruit.
Nothing with a mother, nothing with a face. You can imagine the Meat, Egg, and Dairy Associations think that's a terrible idea. A plant-based diet like Dr. Esselstyn's runs up against our meat-loving culture.
Most doctors eat meat because most Americans eat meat. And so if they don't really see for themselves or their own families why it might be a good idea to cut back or even cut meat out of your diet altogether, then they may not be so inclined to recommend it for their patients.
Even doctors who do see the benefits of the Esselstyn diet may not recommend it to patients.
Anybody who's able to do that diet can have dramatic success. The problem is that many people are unable or unwilling to make these changes, and so in my practice, I try to take baby steps, one step at a time.
And Dean Ornish says when it comes to diet, it's not all or nothing.
One of the interesting findings in all of our studies was that the more people changed their diet and lifestyle, the more they improved, in direct proportion.